Hello, everyone. You're most welcome to the International Women's Day LinkedIn live session. We are so happy to have you here. Welcome you all. I believe we all have to be our sisters keepers. So let's keep sharing this link. Share it out to your sisters, share it out to your workmates, to your team members. Get everyone be able to be part of this conversation, because with our seasoned panelists, you don't want to miss this. Also share where you're watching from, where you're listening from. Tell us what the International Women's Day meant to you, what you did that day. Keep sharing what the theme means to you. Remember, the theme is accelerate action. Let's keep sharing in the comment section. Also to note, let's use the comment section to share our questions, because we shall have our panelists coming in and we would want to also have them have these questions come through. Please keep sharing the link. Tell us where you're watching from. And I also share some people who actually are able to. Yeah, we have Rashidat. Rashidat is looking forward to this. Yes, it's going to be so exciting. Please share the link. Let's have other people tell us where you're joining in from, where you're coming in from, what this theme means to you. Share in your various groups, share to your team members, to your workmates, so that they can also be able to benefit from this cause. You can't afford to miss this. Remember, we have actually gotten to choose our season panelists from different factors. We have a woman group representative, that's SOWSHE-A. They're going to talk how they've been advocating for women in occupational safety and health from a civil society perspective. We also have a pressure group that will be telling us how they have driven safety advocacy and industry accountability as a safety pressure group. You don't want to miss this. We also have ILO providing insights on global policy frameworks for occupational safety and health. So you wouldn't afford to miss this. Please keep sharing that link. We also have the African Union representative that will be telling us how they're addressing policy making in Africa and its impact on workplace and safety. We also have IOSH representative, which will be telling us about the global safety standards, professional development, and membership engagement. Remember, some of you don't know what benefits you can get from all this, so you're able to know from this theme, and your questions are all going to be answered, so you're not left out. So you should share that link. It's going to be massive. Don't miss out on this. And we also have Kayode, exploring safety education, research, academic perspectives on workplace safety. So we have different groups here. We have academia, we have the women group, we have policy framework, we have standards, we have the pressure group. You wouldn't afford to miss this. Keep sharing that link, invite your friend, invite your workmate, invite everyone out there, because at the end of the day, we can all do this as a team. We can't all do this alone, and you would want all your questions to be answered. You wouldn't want to miss out on this chance where you've gotten an opportunity. Tell us where you're joining in from, where you're listening in from, how is the weather like, what does the theme mean to you? You hear accelerate action, what does it mean to you? How have you been able to use it to change in the different spaces you've been in, be it at your workplace, be it in your communities? How have you been able to accelerate action? Yes. I'll be shouting out to a few people that have actually gotten to join us. So please keep sharing your feedback in here, so that we can be able to give a shout out. Say where you're joining in from. Yes, I have people from Abuja, Nigeria. I have Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria. Temi Tope, she's excited to be here from Lagos. Yes, I have Irene from Uganda. We have Banyole from Nigeria. Please keep sharing out there. We also want to see some people from Central Africa, even across the world, East Africa. Tell us what the theme means to you. Don't let your brother or sister be left out. Remember, this is not only about ladies, so you can also be able to benefit from the different speakers that the different panelists that we are having. I believe that you were engaging from the group and you've seen they have actually high profiles and very rich insights about them. So you wouldn't want to miss this. Just keep sharing the link. Tell us where you're listening in from. We have Yemi from London, UK. Most welcome. We have Birunji Doreen from Uganda. We have Obinaji from Lagos, Nigeria. Angela from Nigeria. Wow, I see Nigerians are taking the pace. But yes, we have Jacinta from Qatar. We have Kikou from Ogun State. I believe that's also Nigeria. Please keep sharing the link. Tell us where you're listening in from. Keep them coming. Keep them coming as you also keep your questions there, because once the panelists get to come through, you wouldn't want to miss this. Yes, without wasting a lot of time, I'm going to move to our theme is about accelerate action. So we are going to be able to have different speakers. Like I talked about, these speakers, they have their profiles. We got to choose them because we know there is a way they relate to the theme. I talked about the women group. We are going to have representative from SOWSHE-A. That's Fumia Degbola. She's the founder and president of the Society of Women in Safety, Health and Environment Africa, with almost 20 years of experience in occupational health, safety and environment and well-being, a second-generation OSH practitioner. She's also at the forefront of championing gender-responsive OSH policies, amplifying female voices in workplace safety, and empowering women in the profession. Through SOWSHE-A, she has led initiatives that provide women with education, mentorship, leadership opportunities, and a strong support network to thrive in the OSH space. Beyond her advocacy, she's also a CEO of CTS Globe, a leading HSE training and consulting firm operating in the UK and Africa. She's also a past council member of the Institute of Society of Safety and Health, that's IOSH, influencing global safety practices, and an experienced management consultant with expertise in various international standards. Like I told you, you wouldn't want to miss this. I believe you've seen her on LinkedIn, try to share, but yes, today she comes to tell us more about this theme, how she relates with it, how she has been able to put it out concerning the women group. We also have Carol William. He's a PhD candidate at the University of Stellenbosch in Cape Town, South Africa, pursuing doctoral studies on development planning and public administration, and has a master's degree in strategic management from the University of Dundee in UK. He has more than 20 years of international development experience in international and local NGOs across multiple continents, including Africa and Southeast Asia. Apart from just working for the African Union as the head of that secretariat, he has also a deep understanding of high-level setup and operationalization, and currently leading a 35-man team in the implementation of related action plans, programs, and activities of the secretariat. Like I told you, you can't afford to miss this. We are going to hear from the African Union and all they have to do to relate to the theme. We also have Kelly Nicole, a president of the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, IOSH. Kelly is a chartered fellow of IOSH with over 15 years experience in health and safety and environment. She's currently head of environment, health and safety at Donska Culture and Leisure Trust. She has served a wide range of organizations and industry sectors, including rail, facilities management, the NHS, construction, events, and broadcasting, working nationally and internationally through her career. Her key drive is the belief that everyone should go home at the end of every day of work, no matter where they are, they have to go home safe. So we are going to be able to hear from her. We also have Dr. Runo. She's going to be representing the ILO, the International Labour Organization. She's a gender equality and diversity and inclusion expert and occupational safety and health coordinator with over 15 years of experience at the United Nations and International Labour Organization. She's dedicating to advancing safe, inclusive, and equitable workspaces, ensuring that international labor standards translate into real impact, particularly women and vulnerable groups. As the OSH coordinator for the ILO country office in Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, she also leads efforts in gender-responsive labor policies, workplace safety, and social protection. She has worked extensively with governments, employers, trade unions to foster dignified work environments, eliminate workplace discrimination, and enhance economic opportunities for women. She has also contributed significantly to the promotion of ILO Convention 190 on violence and harassment and the inclusion of women and marginalized groups in social protection programs, including women and men living with HIV and disability. She's also a strong advocate for women economic empowerment. She mentors women in leveraging digital platforms for financial independence. At the International Women's Day event, she will share on accelerating action for gender equality in workspaces, emphasizing the role of policy, leadership, and systematic change in driving sustainable progress. Like I told you, keep sharing this link because we have a powerhouse of panelists that are going to be diving deep and sharing. That's a lot of insights that will help us in our day-to-day workspaces and even in our communities. We have Engineer Jamu Badmos. He's a versatile, analytical, and passionate QHSSE professional, business sustainability executive, and enterprise risk management professional with over 24 years practical hands-on approach, strong coaching skills, high decisional efficiency, with several international certifications and a fellow in 10 leading professional bodies, including Internal Institute of Risk and Safety Management in UK. He led the first integrated management system certification in Nigeria electricity supply industry in 2020 and did the same for the first government paracetamol in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. As a social impact leader and change maker, he founded the QHSES Leadership Academy, a prestigious tuition-free social innovation academy certified ISO 9001, 2005, and accredited to the American Council of Training and Development, where people are inspired to make the world a better place, initiated the annual Leadership Reboost. He envisioned to develop leaders with empathy who strive to have positive and lasting impacts on people, companies, and society through professional excellence, integrity, and spirit of service. We are going to hear from the pressure group and get to know more on how they have been able to accelerate action, how the theme relates to them, and what they have for us. We have Engineer Dr. Kayode Fowede. He's the Managing Director and CEO of Chevron Consulting Limited, a leading QHSSE training and consulting firm in Nigeria, Ghana, and UK. He's a Chartered Fellow in the Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, a Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Safety Engineers, and the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's also a pioneer in occupational safety and health. He founded the IOSH Nigerian Network Group and made history as the first African appointed to IOSH Council 2018, and as IOSH Vice President in 2019. His academic background includes a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from FUTO, a master's in occupational safety and health from Middlesex University, and a PhD in occupational health and safety from the University of Port Harcourt. Beyond his consulting company, he also serves on the advisory board of the Society of Nigerian Women Safety Professionals and is a national vice chairman of NI-SOWSHE-A. He's also a registered consultant with the Lagos State Safety Commission and a visiting lecturer or researcher at the Center of Occupational Health, Safety and Environment at the University of Port Harcourt. He's also a dedicated writer, speaker, mentor, guiding young OSH professionals towards chartered IOSH membership. Let's welcome our panelists. You're most welcome, panelists, to the SOWSHE studio. We are so happy to have you. You really have nice and rich CVs. So we are excited to have you on. Yeah. Without wasting a lot of time, I would love each of us, I'll just call out one by one to tell us, in terms of policy and strategic framework, what does this year's theme mean to you and why is it so important? I will invite Dr. Runo to tell us what the year means to you in terms of this year's theme, what it means to you and why you find it so important.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. Dr. Runo Nosude, representing the country director of the ILO, Dr. Vanessa Fala. Of course, I'm sure most of you know the ILO, but for the benefit of those who do not know the ILO is a specialized UN agency that is devoted to promoting social justice and internationally recognized labor and human rights. And also, the ILO is also a tripartite, probably the only tripartite UN agency that brings together governments, employers, and workers to advance decent work. And we do this around four key objectives, which is to set and promote international labor standards, to create greater opportunities for employment and income, to enhance social protection, including its effectiveness for all, and also to strengthen tripartism and social dialogue. For us, of course, at the core of what we do in our decent work agenda is promoting gender equality, including equality of opportunity for us. And this year for the ILO, it marks the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Plus Declaration. And for the benefit of those who probably don't know, in 1995 it was, people, men and women from all walks of life came together at the Women's World Conference in Beijing, basically to articulate a vision that recognizes that women's rights are human rights and that we should put together a vision that sees that every woman, just like every man and boy and every woman and girl, aspires to their full potential, freedom of choices, equality of opportunity and treatment. And whilst 30 years down the line, we have seen significant progress in terms of promoting gender equality and treatment for all, for example, in the healthcare sector, in political participation, in education, even in economics, we also have a long way to go in terms of closing various gender gaps. And just to give some statistics, of course, the ILO is a standard setting organization, so research is something we do. For example, when you look at equal pay for equal work, globally on the average, women are earning 20% less than their male counterparts. Also, whilst 7 out of 10 men are employed, less than half, and these are global statistics now, less than half of women of working age are employed. Even when you look at sexual harassment, sexual violence, whilst young men still face the scourge of sexual abuse and violence, for every one man who does, for every one man who does, 2 women face the same. We also look at discrimination that women continue to face because of the uneven distribution of unpaid care work that they engage in and how this affects their retention in the labor market. And I could go on about statistics. Another staggering one is that about 708 million women and 40 million men are not in the labor force because of family responsibilities and unpaid care work. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, whilst we need to pat ourselves on the back that, we've made progress. For the ILO, we continue to remain steadfast to the cause around some of the things I already mentioned, and the fact that we also need to recognize that every woman, whether she is in the labor force or not, is a working woman because of what I just said about care responsibilities that a lot of women face, whether it's with children, whether it's with the elderly, and so on and so forth. So sorry, that was a long, wide answer, but that's
Yeah, but
what the ILO
thank
is.
you very much, Dr. Rono. Thank you so much for telling us what this year still means to you and what your organization is doing about it. Yes. And now head to Mr. Karu. Could you share with us just in a brief, in just 2 minutes, what does this year's theme mean to you and to you and your organization, and why is it so important?
Thank you very much. Let me start by congratulating the organizers for putting this event together. And I'm very sorry that I'll be speaking without my camera on. It's very early in the morning where I am, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to see my face. It's not looking that friendly. So, in terms of responding to your question, as you are aware, the African Union as a continental body has a fundamental mandate to ensure that critical issues, especially issues related to gender, is mainstream. But more fundamentally, we want to ensure that our member states are able to take leadership in ensuring that we have gender parity and gender equality across the board in every aspect of our programming and also at various levels in terms of political engagement, economic inclusion, and many other aspects. So, in terms of what it means to the African Union, I think it's more of a leadership role to ensure that we're able to get member states to play critical role, but more or less to be an example and to be able to integrate gender parity across the board in their programming. So I think this is what we will be doing to advocate and work with various heads of state and citizenry body so that we're able to ensure we're able to achieve that which we have planned for.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Karu. I'll move over to Kelly. Kelly, you could share with us what this year's theme means to you and your organization, and why is it so important to Ayush? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joanna. So for those of you that don't know who IOSH is, we are the largest professional membership body across the world for health and safety professionals. We serve around 50,000 members across 130 different countries. We work very closely with the likes of the ILO and the World Health Organization. And one of our fundamental vision and mission is that it should be a safe and healthy world of work for everyone. This year's theme around International Women's Day is of particular importance. I think we are seeing across the world, from a political perspective, that women's rights are being repealed and are being taken away from us. And I think accelerating action is exactly that. It is a call to action for all of us to recognise that we are not equal until all of us are equal, and that whether that's in work, at home, and Bruno mentioned some pretty terrifying stats earlier, and for IOSH, I think one of the things that we have been particularly celebrating over the last year in demonstration to our commitment to those rights, and in particular, kind of relevant towards International Women's Day, was we went and worked with some fishmonger women and the Maasai women, and basically went and supported them through risk assessments and created significantly safer workspaces for them that have had a directly positive impact, not only on their ability to continue to work, but their families and their wider communities. We've got some phenomenal documentaries that are available on our website for those. If you would like, if you haven't seen them, what have you been doing? So I think that's a quick enough of an intro without taking up too much time. Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I'll move to Engineer Badmus. Share with us what this year's theme means to you. And as a pressure group, why is it so important?
Thank you so much. And thanks to the team. Thanks to SOWSHE-A. Thanks to ILO for doing great work in this world today. Without ILO, I don't know what will happen to decent work in all developing countries, especially. Thanks to IOSH for being the largest and taking all of us along, because we don't want to leave anyone behind. United Nations, a lot of things are being done. For this year, team has great action. In our own opinion, Safety Advocacy and Empowerment Foundation, what we feel is that we need to stop talking too much, we talk less. What we need to start doing is action. Let's do the work. A lot of action plans have been there since we have been celebrating IWD. There are a lot of action plans. What do we need to do? How can we advocate for gender equality? What do we need to put in place? Right from the girls' child up to making women to be in the C-suits. So all these are ongoing. We need to take more action. We need to be deliberate. We need to be determined about it. We need to make sure that our focus has been done. In short, in Safety Advocacy and Empowerment Foundation, we are looking beyond gender equality. We are also talking more about gender equity, because gender equity is different from gender equality. Because we say equality, you give everyone, male and female, you give them the opportunities, the same resources, the same opportunities for them to move. But when we talk about equity in Safety Advocacy and Empowerment Foundation, which we advocate for, we believe each person have different circumstances, and each of them have resources to use. Give each of them the exact resources that is expected, so that women can also participate. For example, you want to give us a safety boot in a company, and you give a 48 size safety boot. It is pretty sure that 48 size will fit more men than women. Most of the women cannot even wear 48 size. They'll be able to wear like 40 size. So give people what is suitable for them to perform. That is what we advocate more in Safety Advocacy and Empowerment Foundation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Engineer Badmus. I'll move over to you, Dr. Kayode. Share with us what this year's theme means to you, and why is it so important to you and the organization?
Thank you, Joanna, and thanks to Fumi Adebola for hosting us today. It's good to see HIOSH, ILO, and other professional institutions coming together to use just in one voice to say, yes, we have to accelerate action, especially around women empowerment and empowering the community at large. So I'll be representing the academic setting, and I've been a visiting lecturer for University of Port Harcourt, and also in our organization, we also do a lot of research and, of course, training as part of what we also deliver. And for us, this year is a bit unique. And the reason is because the academic sector is one of the areas that EDI, when we talk about women empowerment, needs a lot of voice to speak more on how we include women. And it's a clear awareness for every one of us, especially in the academic sector, to say, yeah, we are not doing enough. That's the honest truth. We need to do more. And it's also a clear reminder that we need to celebrate achievement of women in the academic sector more. We have a lot of research and researchers, and what we are trying to do in the academic sector is to encourage more women to be engaged in research work as well, and also to include them as much as possible. And of course, while we acknowledge that more work still needs to be done, but it's also very important that as academic sector, we continue to promote inclusiveness and equitable society, just like Engineer Jami said. In terms of equity matters, that's one phrase we decided to also embrace this year. And it's about creating tailored opportunities that address the unique challenges that different women faces as well. And we also came to the terms that women's rights are not just rights, but they are human rights. Just like other moderators have said, we are intentional about advocating for how we change our curriculum. Our curriculum have been reassessed and being reevaluated and ensure that they are tailored towards encouraging diversity, inclusion for women, and encouraging different perspectives. We want more women to be involved in research. We want more women to be considered even when we develop our curriculum, academic curriculum for the universities and other sectors as well. So lastly, I would say that in general, is an awareness call that as an academic institution, curriculum needs to change, it needs to be better, it needs to be more transparent, and more importantly, it needs to open more room for women to put in that perspective and not just putting it in voices, but in written terms in form of research and also publication. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kayode. And lastly, our host for me invited us. We would like to know, what does this year's theme mean to you and SOWSHE, and why is it so important? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joanna. And before I actually share why this theme in particular is apt and very relatable and timely for us as a society, it's important to first of all share a little bit about who we are. I know we throw the acronym around SOWSHE, but it does stand for something. It's the Society of Women in Safety, Health and Environment Africa, which is the #1 coalition body for female OSH practitioners in the continent of Africa. We are very much dedicated to advancing the role of women in the field of OSH and allied professions in the continent, and as well as focusing primarily on promoting gender equity. And I think it's been said, and probably can never be oversaid, the importance of gender equity as opposed to equality. We're also dedicated to empowering women and ensuring that, the marginalized, the underrepresented, of which women are in that group, our voices are heard in industries, especially those that are traditionally dominated by men. And we do this through different key objectives is how we try to drive it, through advocacy for gender inclusion, through empowerment and professional development, promoting leadership for women, creating education and awareness, and of course, research and advocacy, which I'm going to speak a bit more later on, hopefully, as well as networking collaboration. So in terms of what this year's theme means to us as a society, for us, we operate and we play in a male-dominated space, like I've said, and so women are challenged with some peculiar barriers that we face. Several barriers, actually, from whether it be gender biases or stereotyping of women in our profession. For example, when I used to work for one of the organizations in the UK, I used to I was the head of health and safety, and we would go into meetings, and before the meetings would start, they were like, "Oh, we're waiting for the head to come in," and I'm like, "She's here. She is here, all right." So it's trying to break that stereotype. Those are things that we're challenged with, things like, I think Engineer Badmus mentioned it as well, in terms of, inadequate workplace policies that don't favor women, work-life balance, are some of the challenges that we're faced with. Runa mentioned as well, Dr. Runa mentioned around unequal pay and opportunity. This is just to name the few. And of course, for me and for us as a society, it's so timely for us to have this conversation, and beyond having a conversation, to have actionable results that we can set for ourselves even after today's deliberation, to say we want to be able to do it. And I want to thank everyone that has come here today that is represented a different organization that's from African Union. We cannot do anything. And I think it's important to recognize that as well, the role African Union sort of plays when it comes to policy change in Africa. So Dr. Carol, we say thank you. Of course, to ILO as well, we recognize you, and we want to say thank you. To IOSH, we say thank you. To our pressure group, who is ably represented here by Engineer Badmos, we say thank you. And of course, when we're talking about changing the narrative, we need to go into the education. We need to talk about, education and awareness, and we cannot do that without the professional institute. The academic institution. And so, representing that perspective today as well is Dr. Forwode. We say thank you very much for honoring our invitation, for being here. So it's a good time to not just discuss, but to discuss, map out, actionable plans for ourselves after today. Thank you very much, Joanna.
Thank you so much for me. Thank you so much, our panelists. Thank you so much for giving us that brief of what the theme means to you. It's really great that you have some portion that actually you have something that you're already doing to be able to change the communities and all this, to see that we have a better society in OSH. Please engage your questions in the comment section, because we'll keep having our panelists. Please make sure as you put in those questions, address it to the specific panelists so that it's easy for us to address that question. I'll move forward to, in terms of accountability and evaluation perspective, Dr. Runo, as the representative of ILO, what accountability mechanisms are in place to ensure ILO member states follow through on gender inclusion commitments?
Yeah, thank you very much. So as I mentioned earlier, the ILO sets international conventions and treaties, and we have a very unique supervisory system and mechanisms, particularly for countries that have ratified ILO conventions. So the conventions are backed by this supervisory system, which are twofold. So we have two levels. We have the International Labour Committee of Experts for the application of conventions. And then we also have the International Labour Conference Committee on the application of convention and recommendations. And this terminology just essentially means that every country, once ratified a convention, they have an obligation to report on what they have done in terms of implementing the provisions of these conventions. So normally this is done regularly, depends, sometimes it's annually, sometimes it's by every 2 years, but countries are notified by these bodies to report. And nationally, the reporting mechanism is also very consultative. So the Ministry of Labour, for example, in Nigeria, leads that consultative process. So they ensure that it takes into account the voices of employers, workers, civil society, and of course, ILO provides guidance, technical support, financial support for them to be able to adequately report. And then when these reports go back to the ILO supervisory system, the ILO provides feedback in terms of areas where they need to improve upon, and also apply the recommendations. But we also have what we call special procedures. So special procedures are cases where, for example, a member could take on to the committee and to the ILC issues that they think that have not been adequately implemented, or they are falling short. We've had a recent case of Nigeria, for example, where the NLC took the case to the application of experts committee to report some of the issues around wage disparities and all of that. And when that is done, of course, the ILO would always look for diplomatic ways to try to resolve this through social dialogue between all parties involved. And it goes on with that process where they expect countries to go back and take the recommendations. However, if it gets to the point where the committee gives a double footnote on standards that have been flouted, then that country is required to come before the entire member states of the ILO, which is about 187 countries, to come and respond to why they haven't done what they're expected to do. So no country wants to be in that position where there's a name and shame. So at least they try to progressively make efforts towards the realizations of the provisions of conventions that they have ratified. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Runo. Thank you so much for sharing with us on that perspective. Kelly, as the current IOSH president, how can IOSH support ongoing discussions on gender equity within its membership, ensuring that diverse voices and perspectives are heard and valued? Could you just share with us within just 2 minutes?
I will try. I think there's an awful lot that IOSH do and is doing, and I think from the very beginning, if you look at IOSH's kind of central senior leadership team, the diversity within that is phenomenal. You know, we have a female CEO, we have a female head of finance and head of governance, and an awful lot of the senior leadership team are women. So I think IOSH is very positive from that perspective. I think one of the things that we definitely do is we promote policy positions and advocacy for gender-specific health and safety needs. We provide support for and encourage research into gender-specific health and safety risks and management. We promote and encourage diverse talent, and we definitely challenge those kind of gender-based stereotypes, particularly in the world of occupational health and safety. And actually that gender balance is shifting. So if you look at our membership above the age of 35, it's around a 70-30 split male to female. So around 70% of our membership over the age of 35 is male, with 30% of it being female. Under 35, that flips to a 60-40 split the other way. So we are already seeing quite a significant shift and change in health and safety from being a very male-dominated industry to being considerably more equitable, if not slightly female-dominated, as we get into the younger ages. I mean, I am the 8th woman in 80 years to hold this position, and yeah, but what's very lovely is we're starting to see the gap between female presidents actually reducing. So the last one before me was 4 years ago. No, 3 years ago. I am right. And then the one before that was like 6 to 8 years ago. And, you know, that gap is certainly reducing. There is still a lot to do. There is still a lot of work to do. You know, we do an awful lot. Stuart Hughes, who's the immediate past president now, started a campaign called Put a Pin in It, where he received his fellowship, which is a significant achievement in IOSH, but said that he would not wear it until there is gender parity in the fellowship, until it's a 50-50 equal split of male and female. So there's lots of things that are happening and continue to happen, whether as an institution or within the presidential team, to be able to continue to promote the importance of gender diversity and inclusion and equity. And hopefully that's my 2 minutes. Thanks, Joanna.
Oh, thank you so much. As we put our questions in the comment section, let's not forget our pens and paper, because like you can see, they're giving us very many insights and we would not want to miss this. This is information that you can always go back and, you know, read through research on to be able to do better in your communities and your workspaces. So Engineer Badmus, in terms of accountability and evaluation as a pressure group, what metrics or indicators do you recommend for tracking progress on gender inclusion in health and safety environments, especially in male-dominated faculties?
Okay, thank you so much. The first aspect we need to look at is In a male-dominated, space, even health and safety, most of the times we guys more than the ladies in health and safety in Nigeria to be specific. So what do we need to do is to upskill and do a lot of trainings in terms of accountability system to put in place for gender, based equity or equality is to have a comfortable, a well-designed training structures for women, is to take women along, especially to give them what beyond mentorship, give them support and measure their performance based on the trainings they are expected to do. When you give them the training structures and you do performance measurement and put a metrics in place, you can actually upskill women and be able to make them match up with the respective, male gender. So for accountability system to be in place for every organization, the first thing is you first look at your own organization, understand your culture. Because according to Peter Drucker, culture is strategy for breakfast. So you need to first understand the culture of your workplace, know what is happening there, and put in place an action plan to upskill and upgrade the knowledge of the women before you start setting up a system of accountability to measure their performance. So I think that is one of the first things we can do. Then having done that, the next is to monitor and ensure that women are recognized. Because for you to make successes in any endeavor, there must be a form of recognition to make people to take part in whatever you want them to do. So you need to recognize women, you need to let them know why they are also important. Remember the word of Sarah that look, when you empower a woman, magic will happen. And today, in every organizations in the world, when women are put at the high level, at the C-suite level, go and check their performance of the business. They always perform very well. So we need to improve on academic systems for engaging gender equality, especially supporting women. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Engineer Badmus. In terms of the academia perspective, Dr. Fowede, what actions are taken when goals for gender inclusion are not met, or when gender inequality persists in certain faculties? You could just share it. That's in 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Where these are not met, one of the key actions to take is holding the leadership team accountable. It's clear within our policies that leaders have to take leadership role in promoting gender equality and diversity, and these are measured on a regular basis in form of feedback mechanism, and also a regular survey that is done just to have a clear perception of how do women feel within the academic sector, and if there are any areas of improvement, it helps us to be able to take immediate action and corrective action to improve on what we can do to better create a friendly environment for women to thrive. As well, in terms of we also make it clear that departmental heads who head most of the department report on their diversity efforts. That means on a regular basis, they give a feedback to the board on how well the diversity scheme we've put in place. How is that just being implemented, and not just being implemented, but also monitored to see if we are achieving success on that or not. Then, in terms of policy review, we also ensure that the policies are reviewed on a regular basis based on the feedback from the survey we've carried out. If there's any gap that has been identified, one of the things that we do is to go back and look at the policies to identify if that can be better improved, and also see where we can better support inclusion effort as well. We also assign clear responsibilities to our managers, especially in terms of recruitment, the HR involved in employing staff for the academic environment. We emphasize the need for our recruitment process to be clear, transparent, and also improve gender representation and equity. So in general, there's an audit trail on a regular basis, and there's also a survey done. And just like you said, where that is not met, we go back and hold our leaders accountable. The head of department knows that on a quarterly basis they need to give report on that, and also the policies are reviewed on a regular basis
based on the outcome of those surveys that are done, just to ensure that our policies still remains relevant and suitable for today's gender world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fawede. Mr. Williams, how does the African Union hold countries accountable for failing to implement gender inclusive policies and frameworks?
Yeah, thank you very much once again. The AU has in place several mechanisms to ensure that its member states uphold their commitment to gender inclusion. These mechanisms are basically designed to enforce what we refer to as compliance, especially with gender responsive policies. And then, as every other speaker rightly said, to ensure accountability, especially when states fail to meet their gender equality commitment. So the African Union takes what we call a multifaceted approach to gender inclusion, where you combine legal frameworks such as legal frameworks and then monitoring bodies. You also look at advocacy and peer review mechanism, which basically ensure or encourage countries to follow through their commitments. Some of these frameworks I will want to mention few. One is the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, on the rights of women in Africa. This is a foundational instrument for promoting gender equality within the AU member states, which was adopted in 2003. And this is basically looking at the Maputo Protocol, which outlines specific rights for women in areas such as political participation, health, education, and protection from violence. We also have the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which is also critical in this regard. We have the what we call the African Union Gender Scorecard, which is basically a tool designed to track and evaluate the progress of member states in their implementation program to gender responsive policies and practices. We also have the Africa Union Gender and Development Scorecard, the African Peer Review Mechanism. This is more or less a self-monitoring mechanism that allow AU member states to basically assess one another in terms of their processes in various areas. And in fact, under this mechanism, countries submit periodic reports on their implementation of the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, and also on the Maputo Protocol, and also Agenda 2063, which is more or less the continental blueprint. There are many other frameworks, but because of time, I will just focus on this one. But to specifically mention, you also have the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which also have a significant role in terms of monitoring and ensuring compliance to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and other human rights instruments. So these are basically instruments that the African Union use to see how they can monitor accountability and ensure that member states live up to their commitment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Madam Fumi, in terms of collaboration and advocacy, how can women in health and safety collaborate with other professional associations, unions, or organizations to promote gender equity in the workplace? Could share with us just in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanna. I think a good example of not just talking, but action is what we're doing today in response to what women in health and safety can do, or even women in professions where they may seem marginalized. But to succinctly answer that question, there are different ways, women in health and safety really can achieve this to promote gender equity in the workplace by working together on shared goals, advocating for policies, and of course supporting initiatives or even frameworks that we've heard a few that has been listed out by African Union and other panelists, to foster inclusion. So when we're talking about, for example, advocacy for policy change, I believe that women in health and safety or women groups within the different profession can partner with either unions or professional bodies alike, advocacy groups such as pressure groups like SAIF, like what we're doing today, to push for policies that promote gender equity in workplaces. And one of the actions, so it's not just to do, like I said, action. I'm hoping that we note these, and at the end of our session today, we will put out actions that we've been able to align on or discuss here, and together see how we can hold ourselves accountable as well to meeting and closing out those actions. But one of the actions would be to maybe organize joint campaigns, perhaps maybe, joint petitions and meetings with policymakers to promote laws and regulations that, ensure gender equality in health and safety standards, in particular for our profession, but more also workplace conditions and career advancements for advancement opportunities for women in the workplace. So a good example is, I mentioned earlier that SOWSHE-A is going to be launching something very soon, actually. So working with a professional body. I'm not privileged to mention their names yet because we are still in contract stage, but we are actually going to be designing a personal protective equipment for women, particularly also women in Africa, as we are, built differently, with different anatomical features. And so the one size fits all that we currently have when it comes to PPE is one risk, for example, that women and even African women or women of African descent are also exposed to. So trying to, drive equity and even equality is to collaborate with different partners. And we're doing that with an organization that we would release that in the coming week or so. Other ways as well, of course, like I said, there's several ways that and strategies for collaboration would be to create joint educational and training programs. We've heard our academia, the academic perspective or academia perspective already. And I think we can feed into this as well when we collaborate with them to deliver, programs that speaks particularly and addresses unconscious biases or even leadership development for women and best practices for inclusion or inclusive workplaces. So by pooling resources together, networking, drawing on expertise of women's group in particular, we can create accessible programs that benefit a larger audience across industry as well. And I think this could obviously involve offering mentorship programs as well to help women in health and safety advance their careers. Other ways or other strategies would be promoting research and data collection on gender issues, which is one I just spoke about, and we are putting solutions together around that. Again, building alliances with male allies. I can't overemphasize that because even in the word woman, there is no woman without the man. And I think as we try to drive this whole or champion this whole conversation around inclusion, what we also want to be doing is to be sensitive not to exclude the men in doing so as well. So I think collaborating with our male allies would be one of the key strategies that we can adopt, in order to be able to foster great relationships with our male professionals, have them as mentors. At SOWSHE-A, we do that as well. We run a mentorship program, and you'd be surprised that most of the mentors who support the mentorship program at SOWSHE-A are all men, and so that's their form of giving back and empowering women. Our sub-theme actually, again, speaks to this. When you empower a woman, you empower a nation. So an empowered woman empowers other women as well. And so we're hoping that this is just to name a few, or a few strategies in terms of how we can collaboratively work together to see this narrative change. Public awareness campaigns, create inclusive network and forums for women to engage with. SOWSHE-A is a good example. We have over 500 women across the continent, with the same goal and the same vision, which is to see health and safety become a more inclusive profession, and more importantly, to drive and to be the catalyst for change in Africa at large as well, through our community. So yeah, I'll park it there for a minute. Thank you.
Thank you so much from me. Thank you so much. Mr. Karu, how is the African Union vis-a-vis collaborating with grassroots organizations and women rights groups to ensure that gender inclusion efforts are grounded in local contexts?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Share with us in 2 minutes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks once again. As you are aware, ECOSOC is the African Union. ECOSOC is more of a civil society parliament of the African Union. So ECOSOC works closely with grassroots groups and women rights-based organizations to ensure gender inclusion efforts are grounded in local context. ECOSOC also provides what we refer to as a platform for civil society organizations, including women groups, to engage in AU decision-making processes to ensure that gender issues from the grassroots are reflected in terms of continental policy as a policy organ of the African Union. In terms of its membership, ECOSOC ensure that it has 50% representation of women and 50% representation, reflection of youth within its General Assembly. On peace and security involvement, which is very critical for the continent, ECOSOC also ensure that young women are part of the African Union Women's Peace and Security Agenda, one by training them on peace building, conflict resolution, and diplomacy, which basically foster their involvement in shaping Africa's peace and security framework. And then lastly, when we look at the meaningful participation of these civil society organizations, especially women groups in AU decision-making processes, it is actually facilitated through ECOSOC, where civil society and women organizations can contribute to policies and decision-making. And they collaborate with institutions such as the African Women's Development and Communication Network, FEMNET. I'm pretty sure you guys are working with them, and the Pan-African Women Organization, which is a PAO. These partnerships actually help to amplify the voices of grassroots organizations, ensure their input is included in shaping policies and strategy, and especially those targeting women and marginalized groups. So women and gender issues are very critical within the African Union, and it plays a key role in driving these efforts to ensure that gender is not an afterthought, but it is integrated into every aspect of the African Union's work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kayo. Kelly, what partnerships can IOSH form to further support women in health and safety and accelerate gender inclusion efforts across industries?
So I think we already have quite a lot of strategic partnerships that enable us to continue to do this work. So we have partnerships with the likes of the ILO, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the Commonwealth, and we definitely have a seat at the table to be able to influence policy and decision makers into ensuring that there is a very clear understanding that gender equity and gender equality is good business and makes sense for everybody. From an IOSH perspective, we often run events alongside various kind of very women-specific kind of groups around health and safety. So women in safety and health, so WISH, and a number of others as well. As Funmi mentioned earlier, we offer things like mentoring and reverse mentoring, and we're actually seeing that there's a really positive balance between both genders within our mentoring platform. We've promoted several campaigns, such as things like Catch the Wave, which was very specifically around social sustainability, and EDI and the importance of equity, diversity and inclusion in workplaces, and how that supports a safe and healthy world of work for everybody. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Engineer Badmus, how can health and safety advocacy groups collaborate with educational institutions, employers, and other stakeholders to accelerate gender inclusion in male-dominated fields? You could share with us in 1 minute. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Not only in the education field, we as an advocate group, we believe that women and gender is very, very critical in the management of health and safety. Today, in this world, what you can regard as the Bible or the Quran or the scripture of health and safety management system is ISO 45001 2018. And most organizations we are preaching that, look, if you are setting up this system, we should set it up very well to accommodate every aspect that's expected to be to cover. For example, if you want to understand ISO 45001 2018 and its implementation, just go to ISO 45002 2023. And if you look at each of the clauses that addresses areas of gender, most people don't know. Most health and safety professionals, what we look at is the safety elements of operational health and safety management system. We usually neglect the operational health element, which leads to ill health and others. I'll give an example. Look at clause 4.1 of ISO 45001 2018. We in the advocate group will preach this to everyone who are interested in health and safety to set it up. Now look, when you look at clause 4.1, you address the needs and expectations of interested parties. Sorry, 4.1, you address the external and internal issues. One of the greatest internal issues that can affect your organization is gender equality and gender equity. How are you handling women? The president of SOWSHE-A mentioned at a point here now that, look, we need to start designing PPE that fits the women for in the industries. So these are areas we preach to people, understanding the critical meaning of every clauses of the standard. For example, again, when you say clause 4.2, meeting the needs and expectations of interested parties. Interested parties in every organization with respect to health and safety is staff. Staff are very critical. And out of all these staff, we must understand the attributes and the needs of each aspect or each areas of staff. For example, a woman needs will be different from what a man needs. A woman's expectations in an organization will be different from what a man wants in an organization. You have to make sure that when you are practicing health and safety, using the management system approach, everything should be done in line. In short, we in the advocate group will now move further to discuss every aspect based on the clause 6.1.2 that talks about hazard identification. A lot of us professionals, when we look at hazard identification, all we look into is normal hazard, physical hazard, you can see. But when you look at it down, the issue of harassment, the issue of discrimination based on gender, the issue of bullying, they are part of what the standard want us to address. So as an advocate and pressure group, we keep on enlightening people, we keep on doing programs of enlightenment that tells people how to manage their occupational health and safety such that occupational health is not left alone, only safety that we are dragging. Because the time you put into your understanding of occupational health, you will not forget anything that has to do with gender, and women will also be taken care of in this aspect. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Engineer Banmas. Thank you very much. Dr. Runo, we have a question from the audience. With relevance to ILO conventions and recommendations, how can we minimize or eradicate the brutalities and harassment by some expatriates on some indigenous workers? And also in terms of the discrimination of people with disabilities in getting jobs. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, these are concerns, and I know we didn't have much time to delve into some of the things that are being done to address some of these challenges, particularly for marginalized groups, including migrant workers who are mostly women. And also with the introduction of what we now call the gig economy and remote work, where there are really blurred lines in terms of responsibilities of employers. I think we see the need to reinforce some of these standards. And interestingly, this year, our ILO will begin a first discussion on the setting an international labor standard on decent work in the gig economy. Just to also respond to that question, in most countries, the Convention 111 on Employment and Discrimination is a core convention of the ILO, and we advocate, where members have ratified these conventions, we advocate that they comply with these conventions. And I already explained earlier the processes that we take when these are not being done. Of course, it requires a lot of advocacy, a lot of training, and accountability to keep in line with the provisions of these conventions. And as I was saying earlier, this year, the International Labour Conference, and next year, the ILO will begin the process to address gig work, particularly looking at some of the challenges that have arisen from the recent reports of the ILO on decent work in the platform economy, where you are seeing a lot of job insecurity, income volatility, a lack of social protection. So these are some of the challenges, and we are hoping that through this process, we begin to address some of these challenges. Of course, you also know that women are overrepresented in this low-paying digital platform for jobs, and so we also see discrimination in pay, in career progression as well. So, I mean, a combination of these efforts, which includes the standard setting, but also advocacy and training. We have an institute in Turin, the International Training Institute for the ILO, where we also offer both free and paid trainings to support our partners and member states to better understand some of all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Runo. So as we mop up, we are going to look at our future actions and visions. I would love to hear from Dr. Fowedo what specific actions or initiatives are being planned to further accelerate gender inclusion in the future, especially in areas that have seen little progress.
Okay, thank you. For the future, they say the future begins today. So one of the actions we are taking as an institution is to also launch more technical programs that are tailored to promoting women in operational health and safety, and also promoting women in the academic sector as well. In terms of right from the process of recruitment, and ensure that our recruitment program is not just recruiting, but also thinking about how we want to retain the female gender when they join us as join our institution. And for the future, we've noticed over time that the retention rate for female tutors are always very short. So what we've decided to do is to set up a long-term plan for the institution. And what we decided to do is to focus more, not just on recruitment, but how do we retain our female trainers as well. That's one of the things we've set for ourselves as a strategy going forward. And we've also tried to promote scholarship program for younger researchers who join our university. And how do we intend to do that? What we've done is to collaborate more with private institutions who are able to put out funds to support young female researchers so that they can be more involved and stay longer with our institution as well. We are also clamoring for more open way of learning in terms of our curriculum. In the long time, we are integrating more innovative way of ensuring that our curriculum does just address today's needs, but future needs as well. So generally, for the future in the academic sector, it's more about ensuring that we are retaining more women in this sector, and also ensuring that there's scholarship program for women so that they can pursue career advancement, and also support them with certification that will promote them to even to thrive more in this sector. And lastly, we are also promoting joint collaboration in terms of publication, researches. We are coming up with several programs that will connect young female researchers with more experienced researchers so that they can collaborate, they can mentor them to become higher, to even take up more leadership role in the nearest future. So generally, there's an intentional act to ensure that we are collaborating more with more experienced researchers, male researchers that can work collaboratively with female researchers as well. But in the long time, the summary is that we want to keep our women in the academic sector. We don't want them leaving, So, and the retention program is dear to our heart. And so that's one of our plans. And lastly, like I said, mentoring them more, coming up with more innovative program, and ensuring that our curriculum are tailored to address future gender needs as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kayode. Dr. Runo, back to you again. Just in brief, in terms of your future actions and vision, what new initiatives or programs is the ILO planning to launch to address emerging challenges to gender equality in the labor market, such as digitalization or the gig economy? Just
Okay.
share with us
Okay.
briefly. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I just sort of delved into that already, where I talked about the standard setting initiative, which is a new our international labor standard. The discussions will begin this year, so it will be the first to address some of the challenges I mentioned, which include gender-based occupational segregation and the platform work. But in addition to that, another area ILO has been prioritizing is also promoting decent work in the care economy, particularly looking at both how unpaid care work, but also even though women in paid care work, how domestic responsibilities hinder their entry, retention, and progression with their careers in the workplace. And we are looking at care from an investment perspective rather than a benevolent perspective, and making the business case for the importance of investing in care. And ILO has done a lot of research, including developing a simulator where countries are going to be supported to be able to look at the investment vis-a-vis the return on investment in care when you look at the cycle of care. So whether it is from the early years, which include child services, and we have good examples of workplaces, for example, that have been able to integrate access to childcare for their female workers, and they are seeing how that improves retention of talent, productivity, and so on and so forth. Of course, we also have the issue of maternity and paternity protection to continue to advocate for these. And we're seeing countries adopt paternity protection, but a lot of work still needs to be done so that there is fair distribution of care work. In some countries, for example, even where they have paternity leave, you find that men are refusing to take the paternity leave. So some countries are even imposing compulsory paternity leave systems where you have daddy quotas, and ensuring that men cannot transfer their leave, for example, to their spouses, because men, even though they have this leave, they don't want to take it, they don't want to participate. So it's an ongoing effort, and where the care area is one other interesting area that ILO is putting a lot of work to see how we promote work-life balance, flexible working arrangements, but also ensuring that whilst doing so, women are protected. We also have the Women in Digital Business Initiative, which is a collaboration with Microsoft, basically empowering women in business and finance management, and also entrepreneurial skills. And we've done a lot of research, just expanding research into the gig economy, so that we can come up with real world data when setting the standards that I mentioned earlier. So these are just a few, not to take more time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Runo, for sharing. Over to you, Engineer Bodmas. What emerging trends or challenges do you foresee in advancing gender inclusion within male-dominated health and safety faculties? Just give us a brief in 1
Okay,
minute.
thank you so much. The first thing we need to understand is to reorientate the men. What we are asking for is not as if we are making women in competition with men, or we are saying women is above men and start bringing different issues. You now see people start bringing religion into it, that man is born to be the king, the father of the family. Before you know it, there will be serious fight between men and women. So we are not saying that. So the first thing we need to do is to give a proper orientation to our men, because a lot of men, when I ask some questions, some people ask me, why are you involved in delivering all the lectures everywhere on IWD? What concerns you on IWD? Leave the women alone, because one day now they will all get the position and women will not be shouting men equality again. I said no. When you support a woman, the reason for supporting a woman is to make the world a better place. If it is not important, we will not have it as SDG 5. Because of its importance, we have it there. And that SDGs are the blueprint to build this world. And therefore, supporting them is very critical. We need to give this orientation to men. That is one part. The second part that can serve as constraint is religion. There are some faiths that believes, look, the way people interpret it, that women are supposed to be under. In short, we had that conversation in Nigeria at a point, that's about 4 or 5 years ago, when one of our leaders said women are supposed to be in the kitchen, other room. That is where women are, be in the bedroom and the kitchen, and that is all. And if you now notice, when such men, when they now die, the woman will have nothing to rely on to save the family. And that's have been challenging. So we need to give our men orientation based on all those constraints, all those risks that can affect us in promoting gender equality. Vis-a-vis, as I mentioned, orientation of the men to understand the meaning, the religious angle of it, and policies in organizations that will give room for such opportunities for women and men alike to grow. Men can become sponsor for women. There's nothing wrong in becoming mentor or going beyond mentor and becoming sponsor. I have been sponsor for many women, and I can tell you they are doing very well. Even that some of the men we sponsor, who at a point in time become arrogant and outright, but women, because of their passion and deliberate, determination to succeed and to add value, that is the way God has created women. They are adding more values. That's why we look at when the woman in health and safety space takes health and safety, she takes it beyond that work to do. She takes it as if it's family oriented. Look, for example, the way they are created. A woman will get to the home, will see things you place everywhere, poor housekeeping done by men. She will take all the clothes and arrange them very well. This is natural. That's how they are born. So we need to start making men to see that, look, we have to work together. It's all about collaboration. It's all about Ubuntu. It's all about because we are. When we join together, we make women to achieve. When women achieve, the business will achieve, family will achieve, all of us will achieve, and the world become a better place. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Engineer Goodmas. Kelly, how can Ayush continue to be a leader in driving gender equality, not just in health and safety organizations, but across industries and sectors? You can just give us a brief in 1 minute. Thank you.
So, IOSH published alongside a future of work report, which I think covers some of the really good kind of great challenges and kind of looking at things like the gig economy and the impact of climate change, etc., on gender equity. I think there are a number of things that we can continue to do. So, number one, we need to continue to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. We need more female representation within our ambassadorial roles, within our volunteer community as well. And we need to continue to promote EDI and gender equity as a key success for a safe and healthy world of work for everybody. We need to continue to promote health and safety as a great career for women. And we need to continue to work with women within the gig economy and within that kind of informal sector to help directly be able to create really positive impacts to help keep our women safe and continuing to work and being able to get home. Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you so much. Mr. Cairo, where do you see Africa in the next 5 to 10 years when we visit this topic on inclusion and equity? Can just give us a brief in 1 minute. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think significant progress has been made, regardless of the challenges which are there. We have seen progress in political representation. In fact, it is important for me to note that we are witnessing an unprecedented wave of women stepping into leadership roles, a rise in women leadership like never before. We have seen the landmark election of Namibia that makes history by electing its first female president with 58.7% vote. We have seen the like of Tanzania taking leadership after the unfortunate death of the former president. So we begin to see women occupying space in economic participation in terms of financial inclusion, work towards ending gender-based violence. In the education sector, we are talking about the continental education strategy for Africa, which emphasizes on equal access to quality education for girls and women. So from the African standpoint of view, I believe that we're on the right trajectory. What we required is to create space, especially as echoes of organizations like SOWSHE-A, to be able to become catalyst of change at the grassroots level, to be able to advocate, to demand for accountability so that our leaders are able to be held accountable for commitments they made at the continental level and live up to the expectation of the citizenry. So I think we're on the right path. All what is required, like my brother rightly said, is to create that congenial atmosphere and for us to be able to work in a collaborative fashion with all relevant institutions so that we push the agenda forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Karim. For me, looking ahead, what specific actions should be taken over the next 5 to 10 years to accelerate gender inclusion within the health and safety profession? Could just give us a brief 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I think specific action would be to see a very more high-level commitment to some of the key SDG goals that also drives what we do as an organization. And I'm speaking on SDG 4, which is quality education, SDG 5, which is gender equality, which I'm hoping at some point in the near future it will be changed to gender equity. And of course, SDG 8 on decent work and economic growth. And all of this definitely through SDG goal 17, which is, of course, partnerships for goals. But in addition to that, particularly when we look at the health and safety profession, I would say that we need to consider implementing and enforcing gender equitable policies. And, you know, how is that going to be done with partners, where we partner with industry, regulatory bodies to set gender equity standards and require organizations to adopt these standards as well. And just like Mr. Caro has said, in order for us to be able to hold them accountable to some of these commitments, again, to develop and promote gender sensitive safety standards, create leadership development programs for women, promote gender diversity in recruitment and also in hiring, engagement, as I've said before, as allies, monitor and measure gender equity progress. You know, I know in the UK, there is some sort of mechanism in place for monitoring that, but I don't see that in Africa. So I think that's definitely something that I would strongly recommend as well, that is considered to put mechanisms in place for us to be able to monitor and measure gender equity progress in this part of the world. And of course, raise awareness and build advocacy campaigns, just like Engineer Badmus has said, around reorientation, not just of men, but even of women as well, who have actually believed what they have been told, that they're subservient to men, or their voices should not be heard, or they are second-class citizens, you know, of whatever indoctrination that women are having to deal with as a result of whether it be social and cultural, you know, thoughts that have been put out there for us. And of course, you know, public recognition and awards, which is something that we thrive on. We do. We're going to be doing a second one this year, which is the SOWSHE-A Women in Health and Safety Awards, and we're going to be going to Tanzania actually this year to do that. So I think where we have you know, recognition and awards that's been given to women, I do see that we can definitely influence the narrative changing in terms of accelerating gender inclusion in the next 5 to 10 years, particularly within the OSH profession. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Fumi. Thank you so much to our lovely panelists. Please, as you engage in the comment section, give a round of applause because they've taken their time off this weekend to share great insights and to also give us this whole pot of knowledge. We are actually very grateful. And as I conclude, I would like to invite Fumi still as the host to give us the closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I think we can celebrate Joanna in the chat box as well, giving her a round of applause for doing a great job at today's moderation. Thank you so much, Joanna, for that. And of course, as Joanna has said, as we come to the end of today's session, it should not be the end of the discussion, neither should it be the end of our actions that we want to do. But I want to take a moment actually to extend my heartfelt thanks to all those who have joined us for this meaningful International Women's Day celebration. And of course, first and foremost, to express my deep gratitude to the panelists. They all got a WhatsApp or LinkedIn message or an email in less than a week to say, we need your voices, we need your expertise, we need your contribution to this conversation, and to tell you that they just don't talk the talk, they walk the talk as well. They're present here, representing each of their respective organization. And so to that, we're very grateful for your insight, for your expertise, your thought-provoking discussions, and for inspiring and challenging us today as well. So thank you so much as well for sharing your time, your perspective, and we're just grateful. Thank you so much, because this conversation indeed is going to help to shape a more inclusive and equitable future for women. And of course, to everyone who's also joined us today, whether you're going to watch it later, tomorrow, whenever it is, thank you. Thank you. I want to say a big thank you on behalf of the society. We say thank you for joining us. Your participation, your engagement has made all the difference in today's conversation. And of course, it's through these conversations and collective efforts that we can continue to move forward and drive change together. So let's take the lessons from today, and more importantly, the inspiration from today's conversation, and use it to empower ourselves, use it to empower other women, other men, and others, not just today, but every day in wherever circle we find ourselves as well. So once again, thank you so much. It is a Saturday afternoon and you've taken your time out, and we don't want to keep you any longer. We wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully we can reconvene again another time to rub minds together again. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.